This thing looks like it was designed to survive the end of the world, and then host a dinner party inside it. What you are looking at right now is the Nexera X6. 6 wheels. A face that belongs in a sci-fi blockbuster, and a body that looks like it was carved out of solid armor plate. I have been analyzing AI-generated motorhome concepts for a while now, and I genuinely have not seen anything that hits like this one does. Before we get into it, full transparency up front, what you are looking at is a fictional concept generated by AI. No manufacturer, no price tag, no delivery date. Just a vision. But the design language embedded in this thing? It is sophisticated enough that it deserves a serious, full breakdown. Here is what we are doing today. We are walking every panel of the exterior. We are deconstructing the interior from the proportions out. We are getting into the powertrain logic. Why 6 wheels? Why this stance? Why this silhouette makes sense for serious off-grid luxury? And at the end, I am giving you my honest verdict, including one decision at the rear of this concept I have genuinely not seen anywhere else. I am saving that for when we get there. Let us go. Start at the face. Because this front end is a statement. It is not asking for your attention. It is taking it. The headlight signature is pure geometric aggression. Those angular LED clusters, split into horizontal bars stacked like a tactical display, communicate one thing. This vehicle has somewhere to be, and nothing is getting in the way. The Nexera badge sits dead center in a recessed grille that is more architecture than engineering. It is not decorative. It is deliberate. What the front face is communicating as a design language is tactical luxury. Think Urus meets Oshkosh. That is not a combination you have seen before on a motorhome. And that is the point. This concept is not trying to look like an RV. It is trying to look like something that was built because regular motorhomes were not enough. You would feel this approaching you in a rearview mirror. That matters. Step back and look at the profile. This is where the Nexera X6 makes its most interesting argument. The roofline is flat and high, a deliberate choice that signals maximum interior headroom. Based on the wheel diameter and overall proportions, I am estimating a roofline somewhere north of 2.4 meters above the floor. That is stand up and stretch your arms height. That is the difference between living in a vehicle and actually living in a vehicle. The glass placement on the side is strategic. Large panoramic windows run the length of the habitable zone. You can see the living area, the lounge, the rear section, all articulated by glass panels separated by thick structural pillars. Each pillar is finished in the same dark armor cladding as the body. The effect is not just aesthetic. Those thick pillars are telling you this thing is built solid. The body cladding itself is faceted, not curved, not smooth. Sharp geometric planes that catch light at hard angles. The gold accent lines that run horizontal across the mid-body are not decoration. They are proportion markers. They visually split the mass of the vehicle and make it read as intentional rather than just large. The stance is wide. Aggressively wide. And we will get to why that matters when we talk powertrain. Let me talk about the aero logic for a second, because this is where some people might push back. A vehicle this blocky with this many hard edges should theoretically have terrible drag numbers. And in a conventional engineering sense, you would be right. But look at what the designer has done. The roofline has an integrated flush panel system, likely imagined as solar, that smooths the transition across the top. The front pillars are chamfered at angles that deflect air around the cab, rather than slamming into it. And the 6-wheel platform creates a low-slung belly that reduces underbody turbulence at speed. This is not a vehicle designed for motorway efficiency. This is a vehicle designed for controlled power delivery across terrain. The aero shaping is telling you, I go where roads end. The finish is a deep matte charcoal with a slight metallic undertone, and in this showroom lighting, it does something extraordinary. The faceted panels create microshadows at every angle shift. The surface is not uniform. It is alive. You would spend money on a watch with a finish like this. The gold accents, badge, trim lines, wheel details are not screaming at you. They are whispering. This is the difference between expensive and premium. Expensive shouts. Premium lets you notice it slowly. The wheels. 6 of them. And look at the specification. Multi-spoke dark alloys with what appears to be a bronze center lock detail, wrapped in serious all-terrain rubber. The sidewalls are tall. That means ground clearance. That means the designer imagined this concept arriving at places that are not serviced by tarmac. You do not put tires like that on a vehicle you plan to park at a holiday resort. And that rear, there is something happening back there that I want you to hold in mind. We're not getting to it yet. But when we finish the interior breakdown, I am bringing you back to it. Because it changes how you read this entire concept. But first, we go inside. And based on what the exterior has just told us, I think you are going to be surprised by what is almost certainly happening in that living space. Let me show you why. We do not have interior renders for this concept. So what we are going to do is detective work. We are going to use everything the exterior just told us. The proportions, the glass placement, the roofline height, the wheelbase length, and construct the interior logically. This is where concept analysis gets interesting. Start with the ceiling. Those wheels are substantial. I am estimating 33 to 35-inch all-terrain tires based on the proportions. Using the wheel as a scale reference against the overall roofline, you are looking at a standing height inside this vehicle of somewhere between 2.2 and 2.4 meters. That is significant. For context, most production motorhomes top out at around 1.9 to 2.0 meters of interior standing height. The Nexera X6 is conceptually proposing a space where you do not just stand upright. You feel like you are in a room. The psychological difference between those two experiences is enormous, and it is the single biggest factor in whether a motorhome feels like a luxury space or a compromise. The habitable length on a 6x6 platform of this wheelbase, which I am estimating around 7.5 to 8 meters of total vehicle length, gives you approximately 5 meters of livable interior once you account for the cab and mechanical rear section. That is generous. That is genuinely generous. Here is how I think the designer intended that space to be divided. Directly behind the cockpit, a transitional lounge zone. Wide, probably with forward-facing seating that allows the driver and passengers to share the same visual experience through that massive windshield. Then a central kitchen and dining zone, the social heart of the space. Then sleeping quarters moving toward the rear, using the quietest part of the platform above the rear axle pair. And a bathroom tucked into the rear offside. We will get to why that placement makes engineering sense. Those panoramic side windows. Let me tell you what they would do to the living area on a clear morning. You would wake up, walk from the sleeping zone into the lounge, and the light would be coming in at a low angle across the whole length of the space. Not a slice of light. Not a porthole. A wall of it. The faceted exterior panels we analyzed outside would be throwing light geometry across your floor. The matte surfaces inside, which I would expect to be dark leathers and brushed metals to match the exterior language, would absorb that light rather than reflect it. The room would feel grounded. Heavy in the best possible way. This is what interior architecture at this level is supposed to do. It does not just shelter you. It frames the world outside and delivers it to you on your terms. On a concept platform this well-proportioned, the kitchen should be a serious statement. I would expect full induction, not gas. At the positioning level this concept is targeting, propane is a design compromise. Induction means clean surfaces, no open flames, full smart integration. The counter depth in this habitable width, which looks generous at around 2.2 to 2.4 meters interior width, allows for a real island or peninsula configuration. Not a galley. Not a corridor kitchen. A kitchen you could actually cook in. With residentially sized appliances. Storage philosophy on a vehicle like this should be vertical. Floor-to-ceiling cabinetry on the off-side wall. Every centimeter earned. The sleeping zone, positioned above and behind the rear axle pairing, is the quietest real estate on this platform. The dual rear axles, which we will cover in powertrain, actually create a vibration dampening effect above them when the suspension geometry is properly calibrated. Smart placement. I would expect a transverse king, not a longitudinal single. The interior width allows for it. And a transverse bed gives you something that most motorhomes cannot offer. You do not sleep with your feet pointing toward the engine. You sleep across the vehicle, waking up to the side glass, to whatever landscape you parked in the night before. That experience is worth the engineering complexity. The bathroom placement in the rear offside is correct engineering. Water management. Gray water, fresh water tanks, pump systems, benefits from rear placement because of weight distribution over those rear axles. I would also expect, on a concept this resolved, a wet room configuration rather than a separated shower and toilet. More efficient use of space. More luxurious in use. The cockpit. That windshield angle from the exterior, steep, wide, structural, gives the driver a visibility envelope that most Class A motorhomes cannot match. Combined with what would almost certainly be a digital instrument cluster and camera-based blind spot monitoring on a 6x6 platform this wide, you would feel less like you are driving a large vehicle and more like you are piloting something. A concept at this level would be imagining a unified AI hub managing climate zones independently, the sleeping area cooler at night, the living zone warmer in the morning. Predictive solar management routing charging cycles based on the planned route. Satellite connectivity as standard, not optional. This is not the future. This is the direction the market is already moving in, and the Nexera X6 is simply the most visually extreme expression of it. A concept at this level would be imagining a unified AI hub managing climate zones independently, the sleeping area cooler at night, the living zone warmer in the morning. Predictive solar management routing charging cycles based on the planned route. Satellite connectivity as standard, not optional. This is not the future. This is the direction the market is already moving in, and the Nexera X6 is simply the most visually extreme expression of it. No. The rear. I told you I was saving it. And here it is. Let us talk about what would actually power a vehicle like this if someone were ever serious enough to build it. 6 wheels is not a styling choice. On a platform this heavy, and a fully loaded luxury motorhome of this size would be pushing 12 to 15 tons, 6 wheels solve real engineering problems. Weight distribution across 3 axles reduces road surface loading per axle. It means you can legally access more terrain. And it dramatically improves off-road traction by giving you driven contact patches at the front, mid, and rear. If this were engineered for production, you would be looking at a dual rear axle configuration where both rear axles are driven. Think Mercedes Zetros or MAN HX platform logic. Each axle handling its share of the torque load, independently suspended, capable of articulating across terrain that would stop a conventional motorhome cold. Full electric makes the most sense at this positioning level. Not hybrid. Full electric. Here is why. The luxury customer at this tier does not want a diesel engine noise bleeding into their sleeping quarters. They do not want the vibration. They do not want the maintenance complexity. Electric propulsion is near silent at low speed, delivers instant torque across all terrain, and the battery capacity available in 2026. In heavy commercial EV platforms, we are seeing 500 to 700 kilowatt-hour systems. Gives you range figures that make the conversation viable. In a real-world build scenario, you would be looking at a dual motor setup. 1 motor per rear axle pair. Combined output somewhere north of 600 horsepower. The kind of torque that pulls a fully loaded 14-ton platform up a 30-degree incline without drama. That flush roof panel system we noted on the exterior? In a production version, you are looking at an integrated solar array, N-type high-efficiency panels generating 1,200 to 1,600 watts of peak generation. Not the primary power source. The primary power source is the main battery bank. Solar is the off-grid system sustainer. It keeps your climate control, your lighting, your connectivity running while you're parked in a national park with no hookup, no generator noise, no compromise. The Nexera X6, conceptually, is imagining a world where you drive 2 hours off the nearest road, park up, and live there for a week. Comfortably. Quietly. That is the technical proposition. Alright. The Nexera X6. Let me give you the honest read. What it does genuinely well. The design language is coherent. That is rarer than it sounds. Most AI-generated concepts look like someone turned every feature slider to maximum and hoped the result would feel resolved. The Nexera X6 has a consistent visual logic, the faceted armor cladding, the gold accent language, the dark monochromatic palette, and it runs that logic from the front face to the tail without contradiction. Every surface feels like it was considered. That earns respect. What seems impractical? The six-wheel stance creates a vehicle width that would genuinely limit where you could take this. European mountain roads, narrow forest tracks, many ferry decks. A platform this wide creates real-world access problems that undercut the off-grid promise of the design. There is a tension in the Nexera X6 between its tactical visual ambition and its practical mobility. That tension is not resolved. And in a concept this otherwise considered, that stands out. The most impressive detail. The rear. I promised you the rear. Look at those rear access panels, the flat, flush-closing geometry on the tail section. In a production version of this concept, those panels are doing double duty. They are likely imagined as a deployable rear deck, a fold-down platform that turns the tail of the vehicle into outdoor living space. A step, a loading ramp, a place to sit with a view. I have not seen that resolved this cleanly on a motorhome concept of this scale. That single detail changes the conversation about how you use this vehicle once you are parked. That is the idea worth stealing. One thing I would change. The front overhang. In approach angle terms, how steep a slope the front of the vehicle can tackle before the bumper contacts the ground. This front end is a liability. The visual drama of that low front splitter works beautifully in a showroom. On the terrain this concept is supposed to be accessing, it would be the first thing to make contact. I would raise the front geometry by 150 millimeters and sacrifice some of the visual aggression for genuine capability. The concept earns the right to be opinionated about that. What it signals? The Nexera X6 is not really a motorhome concept. It is a statement about what happens when the definition of luxury mobility stops being about marble countertops and starts being about genuine autonomy. The ability to go anywhere. To stay anywhere. To need nothing from anyone. That is the direction premium mobility is heading, and this concept, fictional as it is one of the clearest visual arguments for it I have seen. It is a concept. It is fictional. It is AI-generated. And it is still one of the most resolved motorhome concepts I have analyzed on this channel. Comment: deployable rear deck or bigger solar roof array? Which would you prioritize on an off-grid luxury build like this? Let me know below. The answer probably tells you more about how you actually want to use a vehicle like this than you think. Subscribe Vault Motion. If this is the kind of analysis you come to YouTube for, concepts broken down seriously, without the hype, with the honest take, subscribing is the most efficient way to not miss the next one. We do this for every concept we cover. See you on the next one.